Welcome in the Rover Sports, guys, and I have my good buddy Ian JetsCentral on the show. I have a little bit of lag in these headphones, so I'm going to try my best to get through the interview, but this is a new software. Ian looks cool. I would look cool if I didn't have to wear these stupid headphones. You look at this is what my sister pretty much got for me, and you know what, man? Here's the thing is that I still have so much lag in these headphones that I think for me to talk, I should kind of almost talk like this and then put on the headphones when you speak. But first off, Ian, I want to first know, man, you released a mock draft. Maybe go back and tell us the top 5 of the mock draft, but also how difficult was it for you to create your first ever mock draft?
Well, I've actually done a few mock drafts before, this is actually my 1.0 of the 2018 NFL draft. I did, I think, 5 or 6 last year, and it's always a lot of fun, to interact with the fans, to always kind of come up with certain scenarios, and then to look at the draft and to say, oh, I got that pick, or I predicted that to go down, right at the end of the season. So it's all cool. The first 5 picks, it was Josh Allen, 1 to Cleveland. Thinking big-bodied quarterback going to the AFC North. Pittsburgh, they're kind of iffy. Baltimore's kind of iffy. Cincinnati, kind of iffy. But the Browns have a lot of cap room. They have a lot of draft picks. They might have a new head coach coming in the building pretty soon. So Cleveland's definitely on the uprise. So I was thinking maybe, get a big quarterback, small school prospect, has experience playing in a pro-style system. He's mobile. Love that pick. Number 2, I had your New York Giants going Saquon Barkley. I think just overall the best player available on the board. I think it fills a need. I think Barkley comes in and plays right away. I don't necessarily think a quarterback is the right pick right now for you guys. I think the Giants are still in a win now mode. I mean, I know you guys are picking 2, but at the end of the day, I think Barkley's just he's just a home run. 3, I actually had the Buffalo Bills trading up with the Indianapolis Colts to go up and get quarterback Sam Darnold out of USC. I think Sam Darnold fits what Buffalo wants to do. The Bills already said that they're obviously not committed on Tyrod Taylor long term. They also came out and said that they're not going to be pursuing Kirk Cousins in the free agency market. So I just view this as a perfect opportunity for Buffalo to trade up. They have the ammunition and go get their quarterback of the future. Pick number 4, I had Cleveland again. I had him going Bradley Chubb just to bookend him with Myles Garrett, a solid pass rusher. I just love the idea of that. I mean, you look at the LA Chargers, Joey Bosa, Melvin Ingram. That's something that Chargers fans are going to pride themselves on for many years. Cleveland could have the opportunity, to do the same exact thing. And then pick number 5, I had the Denver Broncos going Quentin Nelson because in free agency, I'm assuming that the Broncos signed Kirk Cousins. So Quentin Nelson, my actual bet, I think he's the best player in this whole entire draft, guard out of Notre Dame.
Yeah, Quinn's kind of a quiet guy, JC, and I'm definitely going to react a little bit to what you said there. I really think when you look at Sam Darnold going to the Buffalo Bills, I totally can see them trading with Indianapolis. Now Indianapolis doesn't have a head coach. I mean, for Indy, they could look at Bradley Chubb. Their defensive line is really weak, but looking at this quarterback class, Sam Darnold going to Buffalo, he kind of is a grittier style. I think Baker would fit there. His personality would be perfect. I think Josh Allen would fit there. The one quarterback I don't see fitting there is Josh Rosen. And on the show, JC, I don't know if you saw this, but recently Josh Rosen took a picture of himself wearing Eagles gear, wearing an Eagles sweatshirt on Instagram, and Giants fans were hammering him, and I thought appropriately so. So now you look, and I know I'm kind of jumping forward to Josh Rosen, but it's looking better like Josh Rosen is going to have an opportunity now to really pick with the New York Jets.
Yeah, I mean, you make a great point, but I think the one thing that everyone's kind of forgetting is the combine hasn't happened yet. Neither has the pro days. Josh Rosen is a genius when it comes to breaking down plays. He has great mechanics. He has a solid arm. He's a confident kid. I mean, I think when the process is all said and done, I still do believe that Josh Rosen will be quarterback number one. I just think that there are going to be a few teams out there that don't really like his personality, and they're pretty much just going to get turned off by him. So could he slip to 6? Of course. But Kirk Cousins is really the X factor in this whole thing. Does Kirk go with Cleveland, Denver, Minnesota, the New York Jets? Who does Kirk Cousins wind up going to? Because that's going to kind of play out or be the I guess the main domino, and everything else will kind of fall in place.
JC, I wanted to get your point on this question, and a lot of times I laugh because I just did a video about an Instagram post. I'm wearing now these stupid headphones, and this next question too, JC, is also going to be about something that is a little bit personal, and that's Baker Mayfield's girlfriend. And as a GM, you have to look at everything. Baker Mayfield, when he was at the Super Bowl, he was wearing these skinny jeans, these ripped out skinny jeans. He has a new girlfriend. He broke up with a girlfriend that he dated for years. And that when you're going through this process, you've seen guys just get lost in the sauce, to use a Johnny Manziel term. You just see guys that when they're going to get paid millions of dollars, they think they're on top of the world. You see guys kind of lose who they are, lose their identity a bit, and that can lead to inconsistent play. I think Cam Newton at times is inconsistent. You look at quarterbacks that ride emotional waves, and they sometimes are inconsistent with their play and everything. So what do you think about Baker Mayfield? Me and you have kind of talked about this. What do you think about Baker, this new girlfriend, him, the outfits that he's kind of wearing at the Super Bowl? Because it just seems to me like it could certainly be a concern going forward.
Yeah, you make a great point. I mean, I think what needs to be said first and foremost is what Baker Mayfield does in his personal life pretty much doesn't concern me whatsoever, and he could do whatever he wants. But I think in a GM point of view, if you're looking to draft this kid, I don't want to say it's a red flag, but it might kind of give you some pause in the sense where, is the Heisman Trophy kind of getting to his head where he thinks he could just do whatever he wants, all the time? I mean, I know you mentioned that I guess he broke up with a longtime girlfriend or whatnot. And of course, like, I don't know what happened or anything like that, but then right after jumps in to a relationship with, I think like an Instagram sensation or something like that.
Model.
Yeah, I don't really know any of the details, but,
the details. You used to date her yourself. No, I'm kidding.
It is what it is, like, I would, if I'm a GM and I'm looking to draft him, I would kind of pause at the situation and I would sit here and think, hopefully Mayfield he knows what he's doing. He's not like losing himself in the moment, because he is in the spotlight. I mean, he tends to thrive in the spotlight, at least on the field. But I mean, he already has some questions about him: size, antics, not so much character concerns, but just, his overall kind of persona that he gives off. Does this help him or does it hurt him? I would say it hurts him if it doesn't do anything at all.
Right. JC, I definitely am interested to talk about the quarterbacks. I mean, that's the most exciting part of the draft, but I kind of want to hear your personal philosophy. When you look at a couple of prospects that are in the top 20 that I'm kind of looking at right now, we have Marcus Davenport that was kind of okay in practice. He's a guy from UTSA. He's all upside. And to tell you the truth, man, I'm personally not a huge fan of the all upside camp. I mean, you have Tremaine Edmonds. I'm trying to think recently of a guy that was all upside. I mean, I guess Khalil Mack was a lot of production, but really this Tremaine Edmonds kid is getting, he just seems like on the surface, he is just all upside, and he's kind of raw. He's very, very young. And when you're taking a guy, whether it's Eli Apple, whether it's Marshawn Lattimore, it just seems like a risk. So would you rather, if you're a team, would you rather get a Roquan Smith? Would you rather get like a Josh Jackson, kind of an older kid? Or do you like taking the chance in the first round of striking gold with a Tremaine Edmonds or just someone that is just so raw and could just be so fantastic?
Right, yeah. Again, you make another great point. I think it's going to be a cliche answer, but I think I really do believe it comes down to what team, what position is your team in? who is your coaching staff? You know, if you're a team like the Cincinnati Bengals where Marvin Lewis might be on the way out, maybe it's not the best idea to take a player that needs to be developed long term. Maybe it's better to just go with a more polished player. If you're a team that just signed a new head coach, like if you're the Tennessee Titans, maybe that project is, worth the risk. You know, also team need, team fit, scheme. Does that player fit in your scheme? Do you think he could translate to the next level? I like Edmonds as a prospect. I right now have him going to Oakland at 10. Well, 10 or 9, depending on the whole coin flip situation with the San Francisco 49ers. But right now, I think he would be a perfect fit to Khalil Mack, John Gruden. Oakland, they're trying to turn this thing around. They had a down season last year, as everybody knows. Overall, I think he's going to be a great player. He just needs to be developed.
Right. And I'll tell you what here. I'm just gonna list some of the names that that Matt Miller has, like, as well as you. So Vita Vea is a defensive lineman. You have guys like Derwin James, but it's pretty interesting, JC. I want to get your thoughts on this wide receiver class and where you had some of these guys going. I mean, the Bears are a very interesting team that a lot of guys follow here on Rover and our channels. Great fan base, YouTube fan base. I want you to tell them who you had slotted for the Bears, and then can you talk about Kirk and Courtland Sutton as well?
Right. So right now I have the Chicago Bears at 7 taking Calvin Ridley, wide receiver from Alabama. Is it a reach? Yes, I do believe so, but I think the quality that you're getting Calvin Ridley, it's okay. You're going to get a solid route runner. You're going to get a guy in the building that has breakaway speed. He has great hands too. He might not win all the 50-50 balls. Expect a wide receiver somewhat in the skill set range of an Amari Cooper. I don't, want to be cliche because they both went to Alabama, but at the same time, he does have a lot of the similar traits that Cooper, had at Alabama. So is it a reach? Yes, because I'm not in love with this wide receiving class. I think it is pretty thin. Courtland Sutton, I believe I had him going to Baltimore. I could be wrong. But Baltimore, I think at 15 would be a nice pick for Courtland Sutton, a big body wide receiver. Boxes out, wins the 50-50 balls, kind of like the anti-Calvin Ridley a little bit. He's at SMU. One receiver who I didn't have in the first round, but I think everybody needs to keep an eye on is Anthony Miller from Memphis. I mean, I know a lot of guys are saying whatever, 4th-round pick, 3rd-round pick, but I can easily see this guy being a high 2nd-round pick. I know he's small. I know he's on the shorter end, but when you look at intangibles, hands, speed, pretty much Anthony Miller checks the box in every other category other than height.
I wanted to get your thoughts, JC, on before we do sleepers and then, talking about Kirk and things. And I really want to thank you again for joining this show, man. You're going to enjoy how this comes out. It's looking pretty cool. And so first, I want to get your thoughts here as I look at the first round. There seems to be franchises in the middle of the first round that are just kind of hanging on, whether that be Seattle, whether that be the Cincinnati Bengals. And it's always curious to me, everybody wants to talk about the teams, that are going to make the leap. But what teams, like, in the first round do you say, boy, oh boy, this team is going in neutral, they're in fear, like you fear that next year they could be picking at the top of the draft? Like, I don't mean to be negative, but what teams do you look at and you're like, this direction is kind of headed either neutral or downwards?
Yeah, I think a team that you mentioned, the Seattle Seahawks, I think they're a team right now that's kind of just coasting, or flatlining. I'm just not sold on Seattle. Their star players on defense are kind of they're getting up there in age. They're somewhat injured. Yes, you do still have Russell Wilson. The running game is just, it's not there. The offensive line has many holes in it. I mean, the wide receiving core, it's decent. It's not great. Doug Baldwin, Richardson, these guys. I just can't see Seattle making a great push. I mean, I know they're losing Jimmy Graham in the free agency market. They don't really have all that cap or resources to kind of spend to kind of get assets or great players added to the team, excuse me. So Seattle, I would say Seattle, maybe even Baltimore too. I could see Baltimore having a top 5 draft selection in 2019.
Yeah. Ravens are just so boring, man. You know, Joe Flacco, the same old franchise, same old team. But I wanted to get your thoughts. You know, who are some sleepers in the second round that you like? I personally like Josie Jewell a lot. I like Anthony Averett, you know, Kevin Tolliver, some of these guys. Is there any players where you're like, wow, that guy's at the 4th round, that guy's at the 3rd round? And I guess for your Jets, who are you kind of looking to target later after the 1st round?
Right, just a few guys I kind of want to throw out there. Cornerback Duke Dawson, excuse me. You had the luxury of meeting him and interviewing him on your channel, which was totally awesome. Stand-up dude, cornerback from Florida. He's on the shorter end, but I like him because he's physical and he's great in the open field. Another player, Chase Linton, quarterback at Marshall. He can maybe be a 6th or a 7th round draft selection if he does well at the combine. He has a lot of intangibles. 6'6". I think he's up to 240 now. Big arm, kind of a sidearm release, but at the end of the day, he still has a lot of upside. Another wide receiver from Marshall is Tyree Brady, a Miami Hurricane transfer that put up monster numbers for the Herd this past season. And the last guy I kind of want to throw out there is guard from UTEP, Willie Hernandez. And I think this guy could slide into the back end of the 1st round. I really like what he kind of put together at the Senior Bowl. And if I'm the New York Jets, and if okay, I'll put it to you this way: if you're a team that you're shooting for Quentin Nelson, and whoever drafts him, the Jets, the Broncos, whoever picks Quentin Nelson, Colts maybe, you can snag Willie Hernandez. I don't want to say he's a poor man's Quentin Nelson, but he can come in. He's a plug and play player. I really do like him from University of Texas El Paso.
When I look at the quarterbacks, JC, and now this factors into Kirk Cousins a little bit, and this is, you know, pretty much been our main talking point when we talk is, you know, I look at Josh Allen. I think either Josh or Sam's going first to Cleveland. I think it's almost guaranteed that it's going to be one of those two guys. And then I look at the Jets, and unfortunately for you, we're just trying to play what Mike Maccagnan is thinking. I don't know if he's in love with Josh Rosen. I don't know if he's going to love the personality like we talked about, even though you love his mechanics. I'm not a huge Josh Rosen guy. You're more of the Josh Rosen guy. So I think Rosen has a great chance to be there. I think Mayfield is certainly going to be there, you know, because of even all the questions that we're just talking about. To tell you the truth, man, I watched the Josh Allen highlights, and every single day, I don't know about you, but I always go back and forth on the prospects. And as you continue to break down all these prospects, and in this media world, everybody gets broken down. So I actually like Josh Allen. And to tell you the truth, I was hanging with Baker Mayfield, but those are really the only real guy that I think I would take is Josh Allen, you know, and Baker is okay. And how fearful are you that if the Jets don't get Kirk, that there's a chance that Maccagnan doesn't like the quarterbacks and you just end up with like a Rudolph or like a freaking Kyle Lauletta? Like is that kind of a realistic possibility, and are you kind of dwelling that sort of possibility?
Right. You know, of course it's a possibility. I mean, hey, we're dealing with the New York Jets here. We haven't figured this damn thing out in years. I actually read something today by ESPN's Rich Cimini saying that what he thinks is going to, or a bold prediction from his part, was they're going to re-sign McCown and draft Mason Rudolph in the 2nd round. And that's definitely not my first option. You know, I think, speaking as a Jet fan, I want Josh Rosen, you know, and if the Jets are not confident and they don't think they have a chance to get him, then you sign Kirk Cousins. I would almost sign Kirk Cousins to, you know, make him a plan A, because the free agency becomes or is before the draft. So overall, if the Jets sign Cousins, I would love it. If the Jets drafted Rosen, Darnold, I would love it. Josh Allen, I think, would be somewhat of a project, because I just don't think the coaching staff knows how to develop a quarterback. I really don't. And I think Baker Mayfield, he does have a lot of question marks right now, and I think 6 is a little too high for him, just to kind of throw the franchise at him and just say, save us. You know, I think you could kind of do that with Sam Darnold, because he did it at USC. You can do that with Josh Rosen because he's not mentally weak. You know, he's a personality. He's kind of built for New York. he has that attitude about him where I don't think he'll get into a quitter's mindset or anything like that. And then Kirk Cousins obviously is today he's the best one out of the whole group, most polished, has had the most success in the National Football League. So overall, there are some options available. There's many options available, routes that we could go down, but there it is, like you said, a possibility that the Jets could just wind up screwing.
You look, and you're Rosen, Darnold, and then Josh Allen. And my only kind of brushback, I like brushing back sometimes with my guests, is that Josh Rosen didn't do all that well at UCLA. Him and Mora were okay, decent. I mean, he was cordial, but Josh seems like a guy that, he cares a ton about all of humanity. I think he's a good person, good guy. Even though I don't really want him in New York. I just think that, like, when you look at the Jets, though, and you look at Jeremy Bates, if the thing goes south, Josh is the guy where you're going to hear people chatting in the locker room, and if it goes south, I don't know if he can pull it together. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, I'm just a little worried. Like, I think he is built for a big market, but I really think he has to have so much stability within that room for him to really thrive.
Yeah, I think Jeremy Bates is going to be crucial no matter who we get. Darnold, Rosen, Allen, Mayfield, Kirk. I don't know who it's going to be. Yes, I do have my favorites, but Jeremy Bates is, it's going to come down to his development of whoever we bring in. Can he develop the quarterback? Can he let the quarterback grow? Can he make the game slower, easier for, whoever we bring in?
Absolutely, JC. Thank you so much, man, for joining me. 20 great minutes with you, and everybody can go check out the mock draft on just search JetsCentral, and we're going to be doing a lot more of these free-form interviews. And JC, man, we got tons of months here to talk, and thanks for joining me late tonight, man. I appreciate it.